What's going on, people? It's No Name 4505 here, narrating round 3 this time from the PO YouTube tournament. And today we have the real Elmo versus MetalGross. And Elmo's team, he has the Aggron, which is probably going to be Mega, the Alma, which is very bulky, the Volturn combo with his Archeops and his Electabuzz. Don't know what kind of item the Electabuzz is carrying, but the Archeops is probably banded since Flying Gem isn't released in 6th Gen at the moment. And then we have the Camerupt, which is probably Special Defensive with Stealth Rock, and Drapion, which is more than likely going to be Sword Dance. But we don't know if he's sub, what coverage moves it has, and we'll see what's going on there. MetalGross' team, which again you all can unfortunately see, is Scyther, Magneton, which is MetalGross' Volturn combo, Vileplume, Alma, and Camerupt, which Vileplume is usually physically defensive, as is Alma, and the Camerupt, which is usually special defensive, and probably MetalGross' Stealth Rocker too, and the Kabutops to hit hard, potentially, and provide rapid spin support for the Scyther. So the team advantage is in Elmo's favor, but it's not impossible for MetalGross. MetalGross is going to really need to play well with his Magneton to break down Elmo's bulkier Pokemon like his Aggron and his Alma. And he does also have a way to beat the Camerupt with his Kabutops and his Vileplume, kind of, if that makes any sense. Probably doesn't. And he just needs to focus on stopping Elmo from getting Volturn initiative with his Volturn users and wear down his bulkier Pokemon. But Elmo does have the wild card, not the trump card, with his Drapion, depending on what variant it is, whether it's sub Sword Stance, Sword Stance 3 attacks. If it is sub, what coverage move it's carrying in addition to the dark move. So the advantage is in Elmo's favor, but it's not possible for MetalGross. So let's just get the match underway here. Let's skip ahead. I believe MetalGross is just going to lead with his Vileplume, and Elmo's just going to lead with his Archeops, which we do see. So, this is obviously a bad situation for MetalGross, so he's going to need to switch out, and I do believe Elmo is just going to go for the Stone Edge to hit MetalGross' initial switch-in, which we do see, which is the Alma. That makes sense as the initial switch, but unfortunately, Elmo is going to miss here. So now Elmo's just going to go out to his Electabuzz and eat up the Scald here because he appears to be Violate. And this Scald doesn't get a burn. You'll see that throughout this match. Scald just doesn't seem to want to burn in this match. Which is good because it keeps hacks out of the game, makes it a little bit more fair. But it's just whatever. And now Elmo's just going to switch out to his own Alma, predicting MetalGross' Camerupt switch. And now MetalGross can just switch out to his Vileplume, which is his Alma switch-in. And Elmo just feels safe going right for the Scald to either hit the Camerupt hard or hit whatever MetalGross' switch-in is and potentially get a burn on it. And now Elmo can just go out to his own Camerupt because that's obvious. That's his best switch into Vileplume besides the Aggron. But Aggron's not going to enjoy taking a Giga Drain, especially since it hasn't made it up yet. It still has that Rock type. And Elmo's just going to take that opportunity to get up his Rocks because MetalGross doesn't want his Vileplume taking too much damage from the Camerupt. And MetalGross is just going to hit whatever Elmo switch-in is with the Toxic. I mean, if it hits the Electabuzz, that's going to be good. And his only other switch-in besides that would be the Alma, which is also going to be good because he can get chip damage on that. And MetalGross is just going to over-predict, predicting Elmo to switch out. He's going to try and get another Toxic off, but Elmo decides to go straight for the Wish, which is a good play from Elmo. And he could just pass that right off to his Electabuzz, even though his Electabuzz really isn't low. But it's whatever, and MetalGross just goes out to his Vileplume, which he can potentially Volt Switch on. But I think Elmo is going to switch out and go to his Camerupt directly because he doesn't want MetalGross to go out to his own Camerupt. And I guess Camerupt versus Camerupt is a decent matchup. Maybe, I don't know what Camerupt really does. But it's whatever. And we see MetalGross just go out to his own Camerupt, as Elmo, I believe, predicts that because MetalGross was out on his Vileplume, and he goes out to his own Alma, but we see how weak Alma is here as it goes for the Scald, and it actually only does a 4th despite it being ×4 effective. And MetalGross is just going to take that opportunity and get up his Rocks, and then just go directly out to the Vileplume. And Elmo's just going to keep staying in and keep going for the Scald, trying to hit MetalGross' switch-in with the burn. But like I said earlier, the Scald really isn't going to burn in this match. So now we just see Elmo go right out to his Camerupt because that is his best thing to take on the Vileplume. And MetalGross is just going to go out to the Alma here, as Elmo is just going to keep going for Lava Plume, trying to get the burn and to get the residual on the Alma. although this Almo switch is kind of obvious. I guess he just wants to play it safe in case MetalGross does want to stay in. And right here, Elmo overpredicts a little bit. I think that Elmo was predicting the Vileplume to come back in because he predicted MetalGross to predict his Electabuzz switch and just go out to the Vileplume to hit that. And then Elmo just wanted to stay in and hit the Vileplume with the Lava Plume. But MetalGross plays it safe and goes to the Scald, which in my opinion was the better play, which had potentially more reward and less risk for MetalGross. So that was a bit of a misplay there from Elmo. But it's alright though. Unfortunately, it does cost him his Camerupt, but his Camerupt already got up the rocks. So I think Elmo can survive from that. As Elmo is now just going to go after his Almamola to combat MetalGross's Almamola and save his Camerupt for death fodder later in the match. As Elmo's just going to throw up a Wish here, and I think we're going to see the Aggron come in now, because the Aggron can just receive the Wish from the Almamola, and obviously Vileplume is going to go for the Giga Drain, so it can't really switch in his Camerupt. And now we're going to see it Mega Evolve here, and we're going to see what kind of Mega Aggron it is, and it turns out to have the T-Wave, which means it's not a Rest Hawk. So if MetalGross focuses on getting chip damage on this and just whittling it down, it's completely dependent on getting Wish recovery from the Almamola, which is good for MetalGross because the Aggron can't really recover itself. And now we're starting to get into a little bit of repetitive action here, as Elmo's just going to go ahead and death fodder off his Camerupt here, as MetalGross is just going to go right for the Scald and be safe. And I think at this point it's going to start getting a little bit more offensive as Elmo brings in his Drapion, and we're going to see that Drapion is actually a sub-Swords Dance variant, and not just a Swords Dance 3 attacks variant. So we're going to have to see what Elmo's other coverage move is. If he has the Poison move, then that's going to be good for MetalGross. If he has the Earthquake in addition to the Dark move, then that's going to be bad for MetalGross. But the Almamola Scald actually can't break Drapion's substitute, so that's even worse for MetalGross, because now this Drapion can potentially put in a lot of work on MetalGross's team, depending on what coverage move it has. And we're going to see the Earthquake, which is bad for MetalGross. And now that Camerupt is going to die, and now MetalGross is essentially going to have to sack his Kabutops here to break Drapion's sub. And that means he can't get this pin off with his Kabutops, which is going to be bad, and wearing down his team, especially for the Scyther. And now we see the Scyther come out here from MetalGross, and he's just going to go right for the Bug Bite to take out this threatening Drapion in front of him. And Elmo knows that, and he's just going to go out to his best Scyther counter, which is the Mega Aggron. And I'm pretty sure this Mega Aggron's just going to go for the Dragon Tail, predicting the switch, which would be the best play, and he does do that. Yeah, unfortunately for Elmo though, MetalGross ends up getting the Magneton switch, and now we can just go for the Volt switch. Actually going for the electric move there because of Filter will do more damage to Elmo than going for the HP Fire if he has it. So Magneton's just going to go for the Volt switch and get over half on the Mega Aggron, as Mega Aggron reveals that it has the Earthquake to hit Magneton and other Pokemon like that, other Steel types. So now we can have this Almamola versus Almamola, but because MetalGross's Almamola is paralyzed and Elmo's is toxic, that's going to be better for MetalGross. But it's whatever, as MetalGross just goes up to his Magneton safely, and Elmo throws up his own Wish. So we're going to see what he's going to go out to. He's going to go back out to his Electabuzz, which is his best play because he can just eat up the electric move, as MetalGross just goes right for the T-Bolt. And we're going to see the switch out to Vileplume and not the Volt switch, so that means that the Magneton is probably choiced. But Elmo just goes right for the Focus Blast in case the Magneton wanted to switch in, or excuse me, stay in. And then he can just go for the Volt switch the next turn because we already saw that the Electabuzz isn't choiced. And now we can go out to Drapion, and Elmo's going to try and set up here, but Vileplume is actually, it's secretly like powerful, or deceptively powerful, and it can actually break the substitute with the Sludge Bomb. And now Elmo's just going to go for the knockoff to try and knock off the Vileplume's item, as MetalGross is just going to stay and keep going for the Sludge Bomb to prevent Drapion from getting up the sub. And now Elmo's just going to go out to his Almamola, as MetalGross goes for the Giga Drain. Not really sure if he was predicting that. I kind of doubt it though, since that Almamola switch to me seemed pretty crazy, but it's whatever. Elmo's actually just going to sack his Almamola here to throw up a Wish, probably to pass that off to his Aggron, as Vileplume is now pretty much at full HP, but it doesn't have the leftovers, which is pretty good for Elmo, bad for MetalGross. And this Giga Drain actually can't KO here, as he's just going to go for the Dragon Tail, get a little bit lucky with the Scyther coming out, because now this Scyther is pretty much dead, and it's going to be nearly out full from the Alma Wish. So Scyther's just going to go for the knockoff for some reason, maybe predicting a random switch, but I guess it really doesn't matter what he goes for at that point, as Elmo's just going to go for the Dragon Tail, kill that, and MetalGross can now just get a safe switch back out to his Magneton and just go for the Volt Switch for free. And this thing actually switches out, so that means MetalGross has Sturdy, which is a little bit unusual, but it doesn't really have that much of an impact, as Magneton just goes to the Volt Switch. Maybe Filter lets you switch out when you're trapped, I don't know. But it's whatever. Elmo has his Electabuzz to switch it, and then just Volt Switch out on the Vileplume. And this Aggron can do pretty well versus the Vileplume, so it's going to go for the Earthquake, get a crit, which obviously mattered, because that means it's going to get a lot of damage on it. I don't know, it probably didn't matter in the outcome, because as you're going to see, this Heavy Slam ends up KOing it, and I don't know how much Heavy Slam would have done since Mega Aggron is really fat, so the Heavy Slam's going to do a lot of damage, but the crit, it's just going to get extra damage on it though, but it probably doesn't matter, and even if it did, it is what it is. You know, Elmo can't help it, MetalGross can't help it, so it's whatever. But now, we're going to just see the Magneton that's going to go for the T-Bolts. I don't know if that was a min roll or not, but the Aggron is going to live it, and Elmo can just destroy the Magneton with the Earthquake. And now he doesn't really need a point for the Mega Aggron, so he can just let it die against the Alma. As now Elmo can just go out to the Drapion, and he's going to try and set up this up here. And try and set up some Swords Dance or something, maybe. Or, I don't think he actually does that. I think he just goes right for the knockoff to knock off the leftovers, which is obviously going to be good, because that means that the thingamabob, the Drapion can't, the Alma can't recover as much HP as it could, and I think he's just going to sack his Drapion here in this situation, as MetalGross is just going to try and go for the Scald, and again we see that the Scalds just aren't burning. And yeah, Elmo's just going to stay in here, just go for the knockoff. Actually, I think Earthquake would out-damage knockoff after the item has been knocked off, but it doesn't really matter because now Electabuzz can just come in here, go for the T-Bolt, knock out the Alma. And that is going to be the 2-0 in Elmo's favor. So that was a pretty good game from both sides. At the end of the day, Elmo did have a pretty good team advantage, but MetalGross played well to try and make the best of the situation. I actually don't remember off the top of my head. I think Elmo won the series 2-0, so good luck to Elmo in the next round. And if you enjoyed my narration, then feel free to check out my channel, youtube.com/NoName4505. And also check out Finch's channel. Hope you all have a good day, and peace.